Lois Wolke, 10 Peak Road, Edison. Number 307 about the auditor. I listened to the remarks last night when I heard the meeting on tape, and something really scared me. The auditor said 75 out of 100 of the largest taxpayers in Edison have multiple tax year appeals pending. Could anyone give me information on that? 75 out of the 100. And it's not just for 1 year. Some of them are going back 3, 4, 5 years. How is that going to affect the taxpayers?
Well, it identifies the fact that there are outstanding appeals. It'll only affect the taxpayers to the extent that settlements or judgments are passed on behalf of the taxpayer. The amounts that the history in the municipality has not. There is a process by which in each current year you can take some of your current tax collections and reserve that based on the amount of appeals outstanding, and then you would have cash available to refund to those appeals if they're successful. Over the past couple of years, and some of these appeals do go back a couple of years, not all of the appeals have been fully funded. Now, sometimes it's difficult to determine exactly what the potential liability is because appellants are not required to identify exactly how much they're appealing because it's based on assessments that will be done at a future point in time. So to a certain extent, a judgment has to be made with regard to what the potential liability could be. And that's the situation we're in. To the extent that we don't have cash available to refund to tax appeals, and a lot of tax appeals are decided against the municipality, there will be a significant impact on a future budget. The way tax appeals typically go is that they're not all decided at once, and as we've had a couple appeals been approved at each of the meetings that I've attended, we've taken the tack to try and find the best method of financing each appeal as it's decided. Going forward, it would certainly be our intent to reserve as much money as possible against those appeals so that the potential tax impact in the future would be limited as best as possible.
Okay, through the chair, I guess what I was really asking is why 75 out of 100 of our largest taxpayers are having tax appeals? I don't understand what's changed. Were they over-assessed? Were they under-assessed? What is causing them to have tax appeals?
I think there's two components that play into the number of appeals that have been filed. And again, some of these appeals go back a number of years. Before the last 18 months, when the economy was doing fairly well, it's not untypical for commercial establishments to appeal their taxes, especially in a period when residential properties increase in value very rapidly, which occurred over the course of the last 10 years, with the exception of the last 18 months or so. The equalization ratio becomes distorted with respect to the value of commercials and residentials, which gives a window for commercial properties to successfully appeal because they're not worth as much in relation to some of the other properties in town. So that's component one. Component two is there are a number of attorneys that will take tax appeal cases on a contingency basis, which actually encourages some commercial properties to appeal, even though they might not have the strongest appeal case, because there's no liability on them if they lose.
Okay, you mentioned that it was because the assessment went down or whatever. How does that relate to the homeowner? Does that leave the door open for all of us, that our houses' values have gone down? Do we have the same rights as these 75 companies?
You always have the same right. You have the right to appeal. What you have to do, because commercial enterprises are valued on their basis to generate income.
Okay, that's what I wanted
and
to know.
houses are appealed based on their value, their saleable value. Commercial entities have a slight disadvantage in a growing economy because they can't grow their business revenue at 15% a year the way residentials do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wolke. Anyone else on the resolutions? Ms. Nemitz?
Ester Nemitz, 162B Fay Street. On 308 and 309, on the hotel, I didn't quite understand what happened with the sale and the assessed values. Could you explain to me the situation there and how that came to happen like that?
With regard to most commercial appeals, what normally happens is both the appellant and the municipality would hire an appraiser, which occurred, hire an appraiser to determine value. It's more difficult to find comparable sales of commercial properties than it is of residential properties, because there are a lot of residential properties that sell on an annual basis, especially commercial or a commercial comparable sale of a hotel, because that doesn't occur frequently. When the subject property is sold, you then have an actual value that you can tie to what the market value of that property was at a given point in time. So that becomes a significant piece of determining what the value was. You know, if a private party transaction, a party is willing to pay $10 million for a piece of property, that plays an important component of what the market value is in relation to what the appraisers might come up with. And because that the sale value actually supported, to some extent, the municipality's value on it, we didn't lose as much as we could have if we had relied solely on appraisals.
Okay. So we actually did better than we thought we could have, given the fact that the sale had actually occurred.
Yes, the sale worked to our advantage in this case.
In this particular case. Okay, could you tell me how much money Redfield Village is going to get back? Because I see that they've got about a $450,000 change in their assessment, am I correct? And I'd like to know what the basis is for the findings there.
Apologize for not having these figures highlighted more readily. The total appeal value that will be refunded appears to be approximately $30,000, but I will confirm that when I'm done speaking through a calculation that I'm going to have to perform. But I believe it's $30,000.
Okay, do you have any idea how they arrived at the amount of the assessment reduction?
Well, again, apartments are considered to be a commercial property, so an income statement is received from the property owner, which details the amount of revenue that they receive that's generated through rents and the amount of their expenses. The net profit is then capitalized. That determines what the market value is.
Okay. Okay. And last but not least, 310, which is the Chevron access. Now that's strictly so that they can do remedial work?
That's correct.
Or some sort of environmental assessment back there?
Yes, correct.
Okay, now where exactly, where's the access from to that they needed this agreement?
Well, it's actually, they're environmental consultants for Chevron on the Ortho site in South Plainfield. And this parcel of land is a township-owned parcel off of Metuchen Road. I couldn't give you the exact lot and block, but I can, not right now, but I have it in the paperwork. But it's a down gradient parcel of land. They just want to make sure that there is no water, groundwater contamination, that there's no plume coming from that site, just to keep everyone safe. It merely gives them rights to come on and have access.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else on the resolutions? Mr. Petroselli?